Egyptian word is made to look like another Hebrew word, and the word means to jump or to pass or to spare. And so in the text it has God passing over the Israelites. Well, whether that's an etymology sort of thing, we're not sure if that's true at all. We think it probably was an Egyptian word. And you'll notice in the text too, unleavened bread becomes a sign of hasty departure. So in the priestly school by then, we've got a number of different elements of the celebration which are tied back to different elements of the Exodus itself. We could say that's a little bit, now what's the word? The word is, I guess what we're finding here is a little bit of an allegorical interpretation of things. You do certain events in the liturgy to remind you of certain things that happened in the past. And in the Mass, that was said when the Mass was interpreted very allegorically, so that when the priest in the Mass used to hold his hands like that and not move them, that had some sort of a symbolic value. I can't think of what it was. I can think of one allegorical interpretation. The pattern on which the host is placed was hidden under the corporal as a sign that Christ hid his divinity in the Passion. So there are little gestures in our Mass that were given allegorical interpretations going right back to the Passion of Jesus. And so here, the priestly school is doing that. Okay, at the time of Jesus, we'll have a tiny bit of a look at the Passover celebration then. By then it had become one of the great 3 pilgrimage feasts. Now, instead of being celebrated in the home where the original Passover was celebrated, it's celebrated in Jerusalem, in many different rooms around Jerusalem. It was the greatest of the pilgrimage feasts. And the ritual by then was rather strict and carefully laid out. So the first part of the ceremony of Passover was the blessing of the bread, and then the eating of the bitter herbs and the Passover lamb. And then finally came the wonderful grace after meals, the Birkat Hamazon. And in that particular grace after meals, which was the blessing over the last cup of wine that we all drank together, Jesus, as everybody who led the Passover, proclaimed a very, very important prayer where we praised the Creator, we thanked God for the gift of redemption and the law, and we prayed, we interceded for Jerusalem. So that is the structure actually now of our Eucharistic prayer. I could actually show you a reconstructed prayer that Jesus may have prayed. You are blessed, Lord our God, King of the universe, you who nourish the entire world with goodness, tender love, and mercy. You are blessed, O Lord, you who nourish the universe. That's the first part, praise of the Creator. We give you thanks, Lord our God, for you have given us a desirable land for our inheritance, that we may eat of its fruits and be filled with its goodness. You are blessed, Lord our God, for the land and the food. So we're thanking God for giving us this desirable land. And that's thanking God for the gift of redemption in some way. During the Feast of Passover, that particular part of it would have been extended, and our Lord would have spoken about the Passover a bit more. And then the final part is praying for Jerusalem. Lord our God, take pity on Israel, your people, and Jerusalem, your city. On Zion, the place where your glory dwells. On your altar and your sanctuary. You are blessed, O Lord, who build Jerusalem. You are blessed, Lord our God, King of the universe, good and filled with kindness. And that's the final part of the prayer. And that also can be extended a bit on special feast days. So, Jesus would have prayed the first little blessed prayer over the bread, and then they would have had the meal, and the final longer blessing over the cup. And those two blessings, of course, we call the consecration. I won't go into why we call it consecration and all of that, but it's quite clear that when Jesus took the bread, he actually changed the meaning